The picture of 10 Western nations composed of countries formerly associated with the old Roman Empire should at this point be considered. Daniel chapters 2 and 7 and Revelation chapters 13 and 17 describe the final power block. Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. When he awakened, he could not recall his dream, so he called his magicians, astrologers, and soothsayers together, requesting guidance. Not one was able to tell him what his dream was, even under the sentence of death. Daniel 2:13, and the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Verse 16, then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Still in Daniel 2, verse 19, then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Next we see Daniel in the presence of the king explaining God's vision to him in verses 27 to 36. This is one of the most important texts in the entire Bible, explaining the history of the world to the present moment. So listen carefully. Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, but he was exceedingly shocked as the interpretation was given, for Daniel told the king that he, as the leader of the Babylonian Empire, was the head of gold, and that the two arms representing the Medes and the Persians would soon smash him, the head of gold. Then the stomach and thighs of brass or grease would smash the Medes and Persians, and eventually the two legs of iron, the Roman Empire, headquartered at Rome and Constantinople, hence two legs, would smash the Greco Empire. It happened exactly like God told Daniel, who in turn told Nebuchadnezzar. Now notice something extremely important. The 10 toes of iron and clay never smashed the Roman Empire. Why? The legs of iron never suffered defeat by any army of the world. They fell through internal corruption, according to Gibbons, a great historian who wrote the book, The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Therefore, the final world power constitutes a union of 10 Western nations, exemplified by a composite of 10 toes. The iron tells us it has to be 10 nations who were originally in the old Roman Empire. The clay speaks of deterioration and the weakening of the empire over the centuries. Now, the 10 toes coincide with the 10 horns of the beast in the verses under consideration. I can hear someone saying at this point, how ridiculous. 10 toes and 10 horns representing 10 nations. That's a lot of poppycock. Really? I have the word of the living God as proof for this statement. Man did not write the Bible. God did. All Scripture is given by inspiration of God, or the Greek, theopneustos, God-breathed, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, 2 Timothy 3:16. Because God wrote it, let's let Him tell us who the 10 toes and the 10 horns are. In the interpretation of the dream in verses 36 to 44, God describes the toes as kingdoms and sums it up by saying, in the days of these kings, 10 of them, as pictured by the 10 toes, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Wow! Think of it. When there are 10, the God of heaven sets up his kingdom. For centuries, you and I have prayed Matthew 6:10, Thy kingdom come. During the tribulation hour, the 144,000 Jewish evangelists of Revelation 7, verses 4 to 8, preached the gospel of the kingdom, the good news that the king is about to return. Can you hear them shouting it in the streets? The king is coming! The king is coming! The king is seen returning in Revelation 11, verse 15, and chapter 19, verse 16. And it all happens when there's a final alignment of 10 Western nations. Could the present 10-nation Common Market Confederation tell us something? I believe it could and is. The message is Jesus is coming soon. Why? A world leader, number 11, arises, takes control of the 10, ousts 3, replaces them with 2 others besides himself for a total, once again, of 10. The 10 that were original members of the old Roman Empire. What? Where do you find that? Daniel 7, verse 8 and 24. Verse 8, Daniel said, I considered the horns, 10 of them. And behold, there came up among them another little horn, number 11, before whom there were 3 of the first horns, original members, plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of men, and a mouth speaking great things. This coincides with Revelation 13:5 beautifully. Again, verse 24, Daniel says the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another, number 11, shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. Here, we not only see him bumping 3 kings and replacing them with original members of the old Roman Empire, but also fulfilling the prediction of blasphemy described in our text, Revelation 13:1. No doubt about it, there will be 10. Number 11 arises, bumps 3, replaces them, and rules until the King of Kings comes and smashes Antichrist's empire. This is the meaning of the stone cut out without hands, smashing the beast's empire at Christ's return to earth. Hear it again, Daniel 2, verses 44 and 45. And in the days of these kings, 10 of them, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these 10 kingdoms, and it, Christ's kingdom, shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. The dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. Friends, the dream has come to pass throughout hundreds of years of history. The alignment of the 10 Western nations may be the final piece in the puzzle. Oh, prepare to meet thy God. Verse 2 describes the Antichrist. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. We've already discovered that 1, Babylon, 2, Medo-Persia, 3, Greece, and 4, Rome, represent the 4 empires of history, with the revived Roman Empire composed of 10 Western nations becoming the final power block. They are again pictured in Daniel 7 as a 1, lion, 2, a bear, 3, a leopard, and 4, a monster who is a combination of the previous world powers he has conquered. He contains a portion of each preceding empire. The only difference between John and Daniel's description is that the order is reversed in the book of Revelation. The solution is simple. John is looking back to the beginning, and Daniel is looking forward to the conclusion. Putting it all together, the message of the 10 horns, the 10 toes, and the 4 beasts is one and the same from 4 different vantage points. But always pictures a world dictator governing 10 nations at the time of the end. These 10 constitute the revival of the fourth power. The old Roman Empire is typified by the fourth monstrous animal. Verse 3, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast." The wounding of the beast is mentioned 3 times in this chapter, verses 3, 12, and 14. The wound produces death, but restoration to life follows. Some commentators think this could represent the fall of the old Roman Empire and its restoration. Others, that it could be the resurrection of Judas Iscariot, for he and the Antichrist are the only ones ever called the son of perdition, John 17:12 and 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3. God alone knows. However, it could also be that the Antichrist is assassinated midway through the tribulation hour. His attempt to subdue, wrest control of, and bump 3 of the 10 members of the Western Federation, Daniel chapter 7 verses 8 and 24, might prove to be his undoing. However, the great counterfeiter Satan performs a resurrection. This certainly would prove to be invaluable to the prestige of the Antichrist during the tribulation hour. Since Christ's deity is closely connected with his resurrection, Matthew 12 verses 39 and 40, it might just be that Antichrist posing as God, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, needs a resurrection to assure the world that he is all he claims to be. I personally believe this to be the correct solution, because when it happens, all the world wonders after him. They're literally overawed by his power and authority. Verse 4, "And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" Another reason that verse 3 may be an actual resurrection is the fact that millions who would not believe in Antichrist hitherto now begin to worship him and the dragon described in 2 Thessalonians 2:4. "Who poseth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, all that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." In the second half of this chapter, we will see that the false prophet, the religious head, actually enforces the worship of Mr. Antichrist. Since they think of him as God, they cry, "Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" Yes, who can combat God and be victorious? Verse 5, "And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. His blasphemy extends over the final 3.5 year period of the tribulation hour, and likely has to do with his imitation of the Almighty. One of the reasons God hates idolatry, the use of images in worship, is that he wants no rivals. Hear Jehovah God in Exodus 20 verses 3 to 5. "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, all that is in the earth beneath, all that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God." Think of the insult to God when Antichrist says, "I am the God of the world," and teeming millions bow to him, to Satan, to the false prophet, and to the image erected in his honor. The abomination of desolation, Matthew 24:15. The blasphemy increases, and in verse 6 we find he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. Jesus, the true God, was accused of blasphemy in his day because he claimed to be God. Men rejected Jesus, John 1:11. However, the world does accept Antichrist's claim to deity. This perpetrated lie is blasphemy to God. The blasphemy is undoubtedly intensified because Satan himself is speaking. Here's an interesting theory. During the first 42 months of the tribulation, the Antichrist acts under the influence of Satan. However, after Satan is cast out of heaven in chapter 12 and comes to earth, he may actually incarnate himself in the dead body of Antichrist, who had a wound and lived. So as the beast is raised from the dead by the counterfeiter Satan, he incarnates that body for the final 42 months and claims to be God. He would then experience that which he sought when he was cast out of heaven, crying, "I will be like the Most High God," Isaiah 14, verses 12 to 14. Now his desire and dream has been realized. He is worshipped as God. The blasphemy is unbearable. He desecrates everything his filthy hands touch, including the tabernacle and its worshippers. Verse 7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. The fight is on for the tribulation saints. This is not the church. Satan battles them as they return with Christ, Revelation 19:14. In this scene, he's attempting the destruction of millions who washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb, Revelation 7:14, and also refused the mark of the beast, Revelation 20, verse 4. Instead of defeating them, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, Revelation 12:11. He, at this point of time, controls the entire world as an international despot over the kindreds and tongues and nations. Such a world government is almost upon us. Think of the global organizations that have become existent in our day. 1. The International Atomic Energy Agency. 2. The International Labor Organization. 3. The Food and Agricultural Organization. 4. The International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or World Bank. 5. The International Development Association. 6. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, commonly called UNESCO. 7. The World Health Organization. 8. The International Finance Corporation. 9. The International Monetary Fund. 10. The International Civil Aviation Organization. 11. The Universal Postal Union. 12. The International Telecommunications Union. 13. The World Meteorological Association. 14. The Intergovernmental Maritime Consultative Organization. 15. The International Trade Organization. And 16. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades Organization. The formation of such international alliances has led outstanding thinkers such as Mr. William P. Hoare to state that a new world order is on the horizon. Dr. Saul H. Mendelowitz declares there is no longer a question of whether or not there will be a world government. The question is when. Paul Scott said the one world perpetrators are calling for the development of a global policy on food and oil within the framework of the United Nations. It is their belief that by controlling food they can control people, and by controlling energy, especially oil, they can control nations and their financial destinies. We may be witnessing the final manipulations of mankind for the one world government under Antichrist. All the world is amazed as this self-styled deity then takes control, and the majority bow in his presence. However, God always has a remnant who will not bow to Baal or other deities. Verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. True believers will have nothing to do with this satanic monster, even though they will not be able to buy or sell without his approval. Verse 17. Their love for Christ will mean more than life, shelter, and food. They love Christ to the end, Revelation 20, verse 4. Will you? Is such an hour approaching when a demon-possessed or devil-incarnate human claiming deity and being worshipped is accepted? Will such a world leader appear soon? The famous Belgian leader Henry Spock said, "We do not want another committee. We have too many already. What we want is a man of sufficient stature to hold the allegiance of the people and lift us out of the economic morass into which we are sinking. Send us such a man, and be he God or devil, we will accept him." It won't be long, Mr. Spock. Your wish will soon become a reality. The life and death matter of verses 1 to 8 is so important that God in verse 9 uses the warning he so often presented to the 7 churches. He that hath an ear, let him hear. Beware, take heed, think seriously, he says, but why? Verse 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap, Galatians 6:7. In verses 11 to 18, we are introduced to the second beast, the religious fake commonly called the false prophet. Verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. This is the third member of the satanic trinity. The devil imitates the Father, the Antichrist the Son, and the false prophet, the Holy Spirit. This religious hypocrite fulfills the prediction of our Savior, who said in Matthew 24:24, there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. His rise out of the earth suggests that he may be a Jewish leader. The sea out of which the Antichrist, the first beast, rises is usually a type of the Gentiles, whereas the earth pictures Israel. Humanly speaking, a Jew would have the best opportunity of getting his people to accept the peace pact described in Daniel 9:27. Time will tell. One thing is certain. Horns symbolize power. A lamb pictures Christ, and the dragon is the name applied to Satan, Revelation 12:9. This false prophet, then, has power like Christ, but speaks hypocritically like Satan. Verse 12, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. The power the false prophet has is in the realm of religion. He is co-equal in power with the Antichrist. One heads up the secular world while the other controls the religious scene. These two work closely together. The Antichrist shares his authority with the false prophet, protecting him and his religious colossus for a promise of loyalty and devotion. The head of the church, in turn, sees to it that the Antichrist, who was wounded and resurrected, is worshipped. What a team. The second beast is one of the greatest miracle workers of history. Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. The great wonders are called lying wonders in 2 Thessalonians 2:9. This will not be magical sleight-of-hand manipulations, but power from the dragon. In doing these men with supernatural abilities, since God often revealed himself by fire, Genesis 19:24, Leviticus 10:1 and 2, 1 Kings 18:38, the false prophet also uses fire. It is accomplished by the help of Satan for one reason. Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. The purpose, then, of all these miracles is to prepare the people for idolatry. He wants them to build the greatest statue in history, the very image of the Antichrist. This they will erect in Jerusalem and situate in the Jewish temple. The blasphemous act is against the Jewish conscience and forbidden by the second commandment, Exodus 20, verse 4. This is why it is an obnoxious, hateful, abominable thing labeled the abomination of desolation, Matthew 24:15. This image will speak and might be the fulfillment of present-day computer systems that carry on intelligent conversations. Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Are there such computers? Can these man-made robots actually talk? Definitely. The Phil Donahue Show hosted a talking computer named Leacham. Millions of Americans saw this robot seated on a desk. He had eyes, arms, and legs. Wait, there's more. He had a voice that spoke as clearly as I'm speaking to you. He also had unbelievable knowledge, for he answered any question asked him in a split second of time. Lieutenant Walters tells us that he has created a computer with a 4,000-word vocabulary and is using it at international conferences. George Bullard, Detroit News higher education writer, also tells us about a computer he saw at Michigan State University. He reports it has a heavy accent and lisps slightly, but speaks. Scientists and engineers saw and heard it at a recent conference conducted at the Detroit Hilton Hotel. The specialist heard the robot speak any sentence typed into it, along with foreign languages as well. Where will it end? Professor Seymour Wolfson of Wayne State University, an expert in the field of computers, said, already there is a report of computer systems that have the storage capability of 10 trillion human beings. The days of laughing at God's word are forever finished. Only atheistic pagans, unlearned ignoramuses, and hardened sinners could do so in the light of such an array of facts. Now, what does it signify? I believe that the international dictator will control and enslave Earth's 4 billion inhabitants through such an all-knowing monster. He'll have all the facts on every member of the human race at his fingertips. This type of system will undoubtedly be needed by the world ruler, so that he, with unerring precision, can know who receives his orders, obeys his commands, and honors his laws. It will enable him to know who Earth's rebels are. Present computers already are storing such information on members of the human race. Mr. Paul Peterson, in his book Sinister World Computerization, reports, I saw the computer in Luxembourg that can computerize facts and figures on everyone in the world. The building that houses it is over a half-block square. The main floor contains all the computerization equipment, and there are 5 or 6 floors that are used for the business end of computerization. One of the things that intrigued Mr. Peterson was a microtape of about 1/2 an inch wide on a reel 2 feet in diameter. One reel had the capability of storing 20 pages of documentation on every person living in the USA. Think of it. One reel had the potential of covering 20 pages of information on over 220 million human beings, and there were 7,000 reels on location. 20 reels could handle 20 pages of information on every person alive today. The international dictator will use such a computer, fashioned after his likeness. Could this be the beginning of cloning? This computer will be the only way he can effectively know everything immediately. How fast are modern computers? The Computer Digest states in 1/2 second today's computers can debit 2,000 checks to 300 different bank accounts, or can examine 1,000 electrocardiograms, or score 150,000 answers on 3,000 exams, or figure the company payroll for 1,000 employees. Amazing! All of this in 1/2 second. Machinery like this will be needed to keep track of all 666 merchandising. Question: is such a world computer capable of controlling the entire population of the earth being prepared? Nancy French, in an article for Computer World magazine, says yes. Europe, the magazine of the common market, the 10-nation federation out of which Antichrist may rise, states European researchers will soon be linked through a unique system for computerized data, the Direct Information Access Network for Europe, called DIAN. DIAN is to interconnect numerous stations through the most advanced computers and telecommunications devices. The system will include data networks from community countries with the future possibility of incorporating networks of non-community countries. We now have access to 100 computer banks around the world. The name and data relating to every individual in the Western world is already stored in computer banks somewhere. All this information can be fed into the Euronet computer that the European community locates at Brussels, Belgium. Listen now to this next statement to avoid any confusion. Only the computer links are in Brussels, Belgium. The actual Euronet computer is located in Luxembourg, housed in a modernistic 3-story building. This is the one Mr. Peterson described a few moments ago. With all that is occurring in the computer world, one can understand verses 16 to 18 a little better. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The Antichrist will undoubtedly use a computer to enslave Earth's teeming millions. He will effectively do this through commerce, the buying and selling of products. This forthcoming computer of the ages, it looks like we already have the model or father of the final one, will give the Antichrist all the needed information necessary to govern the world. Its memory bank will know the number, record, and history of every living person. The number will definitely be or include 666 as a prefix. It could be 666-7, 666-300, etc. This is the only way one person could be differentiated from another. If all numbers were identical, there would be mass confusion. So there must be a variance in incorporating 666 for marketing purposes. Shocking as it all may seem, such a day is at hand. A cashless, checkless society is being planned. Numbers of states are already experimenting. Neighbor, it is later than you think. The reign of a world dictator is upon the horizon. A new Hitler with a monstrous computer to enslave millions may soon control the earth.